happening, people? Welcome back to the Park Lane podcast. It's Saturday morning, it's 11 a.m., and we are back with episode number 22. I'm joined this week by Harry. Harry, how you doing, mate?
I'm very good, thank you. Pleasure to be here as always. Always my favourite part of the week.
Amazing. It's Saturday and you're on here, so what else can you wish for?
Exactly.
My name's Luke, and welcome to the show. If you are new to the channel, do not forget to hit the subscribe button. If you like it, click the like button. And if you're following us on any podcast platform, don't forget to follow us and give us a 5-star review. Also, obviously, get your comments in, because all the comments that come in, we will read out as many as we can and chat to you as always. So, Harry, there's not many of us this week. You know, our other boys have let us down, so we're going to have to do everyone proud. What are your thoughts following on from the FA Cup last weekend? Because I know with this show on Saturday mornings and whatnot, it's always difficult to relive, a week ago. But talk to me about your thoughts about the win against Preston.
Yeah, I thought it was good because obviously, we got the job done in the end, and I came into it. I don't know if you remember, but I said I wasn't too confident about that. I think it was a bit, in the first half, but the important thing, we got the job done. I think Preston got a bit, struggled with fitness levels towards the end, and I think we're better again in that second half. It was good to see also Danjuma get his debut goal as well. So generally positive. It's it could have been a cup upset. It was on TV for a reason. They thought there could be a cup upset there, and we avoided that. So looking at that, it's positive. We got the job done and prevented that.
Yeah, definitely. Johnny D's here and said, "Hey, my guys, Spurs fan here again. This time I want a win, not a cock up 2-0 up." Right. Yeah. Anyway, we'll talk about City toward the end of the show, Johnny. So make sure you stick around for the chat about the City game. I think you're right, though, Harry, going back to what you said. Again, bit of a slow start. Yeah. But I don't feel that they tested us as much as, some teams have done.
No.
I felt like the really tall striker for them played well. And, gave kind of Davinson Sanchez a little bit of a tricky time.
Yeah.
You know what he's like at the best of times, but I think it was pretty solid all round. 7 changes, I think, were made to the lineup against Preston. And it was nice to see. It was weird, I thought, that Davinson Sanchez got the captain's armband.
Yeah, it was strange,
but anyway, that's just different. What I liked, though, was I liked Sonny's influence on the game. So it was interesting from when I was watching without Harry Kane and seeing how they would play. Because I think it was Perisic, Son, and Kulusevski, right?
Yeah.
And it was nice to see them because at times they kind of switched around a little bit. At times, Sonny would go out left, Perisic would come inside. Sometimes Kulusevski would come inside. But what I also saw from Sonny was a little bit of Harry Kane-esque, kind of dropping back deep, kind of picking the ball up, getting into space. And it was more the Sonny that I know and love. Not so much kind of like pacey runs and beating players on the wing, but it was really nice, intricate football. And what I saw was, the ball at his feet and it stuck to his feet. And we haven't really seen that kind of composure from Sonny in a while. So what were your thoughts about really the front three and Heung-min Son?
Yeah, I completely agree, Luke. I thought they were all good, but Son especially, I think he felt, without Kane, I think he felt that responsibility to step up. Obviously, I think he's been struggling for form, struggling for confidence, but I thought that performance was good. And as I said, I think he took that responsibility on without us being Kane and knew, hang on, look, we've got to step up here. We're not just the Harry Kane team. It's my chance. There's no Kane, because I don't want to say that he's better without Kane, but I think he, in a way, feels that he has to step up without Kane, because obviously we know the difference Kane makes to this Tottenham team. So I think Son, felt that responsibility to step up, and I think he did. I thought we played really, really well. Hopefully, we get more of that now.
Yeah, definitely. And without talking too much about Harry Kane, it was nice to have a game in which Harry Kane didn't have to feature. In the end, it was a pretty relatively easy win.
In the end,
and I felt like at times in the first half we were again too cagey, too, scared. It's always difficult for Spurs. I found over the last kind of 7-8 years, we've always, regardless of who's been the manager, we always struggle to break down low block teams, and we never managed to figure out how. And so I don't know why. but it's just the way it is. And they defended well. They defended resolutely, and
They defended really well, yeah.
it took a little bit of magic from Sonny in the end. But I want to talk about Danjuma, because there was a lot of talk when he came to Spurs about, it was a panic signing, and we were competing against the likes of Everton and so on for him, and and that kind of nonsense that you see on Twitter. But what I liked was that as soon as he came on, there was a moment, I reckon it was 5 minutes after he came on, he pointed somewhere for the ball and he didn't get the ball. So he automatically turned to the players behind him and he pointed to them as if to say where they should be on the pitch. This is a guy that's played 5 minutes of football for Spurs, but yet knows exactly where everyone should be and knows exactly what everyone should be doing. And in the end, he gets a goal. Look, it's a scruffy finish. He scuffs it into the back of the net.
Still winning.
But, it's good to see somebody come on and make an instant impact. What were your thoughts on Danjuma?
I thought it was really good. I think it was great to see, pointing and telling players where they should be. I like that. I think we need more of that. Dave may disagree, but I think you need that in a team. That pointing, that moaning, if you like, telling players what to do so they at it all the time. Obviously, he got the goal. It doesn't matter. It went in. But I did say from day one when we signed him, I think it's a clever signing. Obviously, it's not. We're not signing Eric Haaland, for example, Erling Haaland. I think it's a clever signing. I think it's clever business, personally. Yes, Everton is going to go to Everton, but we hijacked Everton still, on loan. I think it's a clever signing, personally. And obviously got the goal. Hopefully, he can have a big impact this season. I have high hopes for him, actually. Luke, you're on mute.
Sorry, that was a glitch with my button then.
Okay.
So I'm not suggesting that he automatically comes in and he takes, everybody out of the frame, but it's nice to add competition and competitiveness
in
that various positions, and it makes the likes of Son step up, and it's really, really good to see. But I'm just going to pull up Johnny's comment here. He said Chelsea, with all their transfers, couldn't beat Fulham at home. You turn them over away. That's football. Script goes out the window. Well, it's an interesting point, that, because anybody that plays Football Manager, it's a bit of a stupid point, but if you play Football Manager, right, and you sign 10, 11 players in a transfer window, they never gel, never goes well, and also, if you allow an owner to buy whoever they like, which it looks like, the manager has no... I don't believe Graham Potter has any say in these things. And, it's very difficult for them to gel. Look, is it going to be good in the future for Chelsea? Who knows? But at the end of the day, it's good to see them dropping points yesterday.
Yeah, it was, yeah. I don't think they have any, quickly on that, I don't think they have any, plan, identity, structure, direction. It's just spend the money and... I think if you're going to go with someone like Graham Potter, you're better to go young and give him time. So I don't think they've got the right manager for the right idea. I mean, fair play to Topolillo, showed ambition in terms of spending money, but they have no plan. And I think that's where they are in the league. And, I'm happy for that to continue, but, they've got some quality signings, so it might gel after all, like Nottingham Forest. I know, completely different example, but it's starting to gel for them as well.
Yeah, definitely. Let's move on to the FA Cup draw. Because, the draw has been made and Spurs will either play Wrexham or Sheffield United, who saw out a thrilling draw at the weekend.
Great game.
And what are your thoughts on that? Because, we've talked about the FA Cup quite a lot on this show recently. And, me as a Spurs fan, doesn't matter to me who we face. Doesn't matter to me, who we play. But I much prefer to play lower league oppositions as much as possible and watch the rest of the Premier League teams get knocked out. We watch Arsenal get knocked out against Man City, which is nice to see. And, if Spurs can beat either of these two teams, personally, I would rather play Sheffield United because I think it will be an easier game. I think going away to Wrexham, playing a non-league side on a terrible pitch.
It's not easy.
It won't be easy. Now, obviously... footballing wise, it should be easier to beat Wrexham, but it would concern me, and it would concern me that we may be seeing an upset there. But what are your thoughts on that draw in general?
I don't think the draw's too bad. We haven't got a Premier League team, but obviously away from home, it's never easy in the FA Cup. Especially when they broadcast, they know there's a possibility of an upset. Personally, I'd rather get Sheffield United. I'm not necessarily say it's easier, but Wrexham, we saw how much they gave against Sheffield United. I mean, obviously on paper, it looks like Sheffield United would be harder, but Wrexham will give everything. As you said, tough pitch. It might be night time. The crowd. It means that in an FA Cup. Although people say, like you said there, Luke, it's easy to play, or you'd rather play the smaller teams. I personally, it's obviously good to start with, but I always worry away from home against small teams. It is basically their cup final, and they give everything. So I think Sheffield United will probably be easier for us. We played them for Premier League. We know the opposition, whereas Wrexham, you don't know what to expect, and there's that possibility of an upset is always there. But it'd be interesting either way, and it certainly isn't the worst draw, but it won't be easy because it's away from home, and away from home in the FA Cup, there's always a possibility of an upset.
Yeah, definitely. Who knows what will happen, and I'm sure we'll find out in the coming days who Spurs will face, because I'm sure the replay is just around the corner.
I think it's next week, isn't it?
Yeah, so we will find out. I think at the moment it's about putting that to the side and focusing on the Premier League. And since we last were on, Harry, the transfer window is slammed shut. We talked last week about Pedro Porro, and we were all very confident it would happen. Then all of a sudden, Monday morning, we get the news that Pedro Porro deal is off. At which point Spurs Twitter, it's a meltdown on the best of days, regardless of the transfer window. And then it would just been into complete chaos. And again, I was very confident that we would get this one done. I don't believe at any point, even if a team changes their, decision, once it gets to that point, like for me, watching Porro with the Sporting fans after the cup final, which they did lose, watching him, say his goodbyes and everything like that.
Yeah, once
it
you've
would
done
have
that,
been near impossible for it to not go ahead, because what do they then do with a player like that? But in the end, we got our man, but Twitter still went into meltdown over it, because it turned out that it was a loan with an obligation to buy. And now the fear is that all the money's gone for the summer and so on. And the rumour mills continue and continue. Looking away from what everyone says on social media, what are your thoughts on that deal? And what are your thoughts on the fact that it is a loan with an obligation to buy?
I have mixed thoughts, actually. I have two sides to it. I've been thinking about it all week. Positive thing is we got the deal done, and that's the main thing. He's our player. So credit to Levy for getting that done. However, he shouldn't have taken the time it took, and perhaps some fans will say we needed a centre back, but putting that to a side, it took a long time. We did get it done in the end. Just slightly frustrated it's a loan deal, but it's clever business in terms of we've got that obligation here. We've got that set money. I think it's something like 42.5 million euros or something to buy him. So it's a clever deal, but I think it just took too long. But I'm glad he's here, and I think it'll make a huge difference to the team. But it shouldn't take 30 days. And that announcement that was left it so late. As well on deadline day. So it's slightly frustrating, but you've got to think, regardless of it took far too long, of course, but he's our player, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, I was asleep before the announcement even.
Yeah, 4 minutes I went to sleep, 4 minutes after it was announced.
But it was at that stage where there was no point staying up, because it would already have it was already done. There was nothing that was going to fall apart. But what are your thoughts on when people suggest that putting all the money into the summer, and the fact we still have to buy Kulusevski, and the fact that we still have to pay for Porro and so on?
Yeah.
Do you believe that because this Porro deal is structured over 3 years, so it's not like we have to pay the obligation in one go. So it's not 40 odd million euros.
That's also clever, yeah.
In the summer. And I think it's the same with Kulusevski. Kulusevski payments are structured, as far as I'm aware.
So, yeah.
And the amount for him is minuscule, in my opinion, as well. So do you buy into all this, or is this just more ways to get at the board from an already frustrated fan base?
Obviously, it's just talk, but I do share a slight concern with the fans that I think we know what Levy and Inik are like, where they can turn around and say, "Look, we've signed Kulusevski, we've signed Porro, blah blah blah. That's 2 signings. We know what they're like, and we saw like with their Enix response too from the Tottenham Hotspur Supporters Trust, kind of saying that they've spent 500 million, whatever it was, to set the stadium opened in April 2019. But they forget that includes poor recruitment, add-ons. Like they said 47 million in January. I don't know where they got that from. I think that means it includes the women's team if we bought Porro, for example. So I think we know what they're like, and they can turn around and say we bought 2 players, but we know we need like a centre back as well. So there's a little bit of me that shares that concern with fans. But I mean, if we're going to, hopefully we can get centre back as well in the summer. So I'm trying not to listen to it, but I do secretly share a slight concern with the fans. I think we know what they're like.
Yeah, we will move on to the Enoch response to the Tottenham Hotspur, Supporters Trust, because, they said they would respond to it after the transfer window, and they did respond. But this is a quick one on transfers in general.
Yeah.
So I've been thinking about this week and what we need in the summer. And people will always say we need recruitment, we need players, we need this, we need that, right? We have got, I would say, our front line is pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Kane, Richarlison, Son, Kulusevski, even with, depending on how he performs, Danjuma. We have that. We also have left wing back coming in Udogie. We've now got Pedro Porro on the right. Yeah. We've got Spence, who's on loan. It's the back 3 that is the most concerning, because we have Clement Longley, who personally I think he's done all right, but I wouldn't be running out the door to sign him as a left-sided centre-back.
Absolutely not.
So we definitely need a left-sided centre-back, potentially another centre-back to kind of cover or replace Eric Dyer, because Sanchez should move on. And then we're looking at goalkeeper. So, Dave may argue, that when he's on, he may argue, we need another central midfielder and so on. But
we don't. No.
Realistically, we need because, we're forgetting about Sarr as well. So, realistically, we need a centre-back, left-sided centre-back, and a goalkeeper.
Yeah.
What else do you see that Spurs need?
This is a good question. And like you said, Dave would probably say we need a midfielder, but Dave's got to understand, and people like Dave got to understand, that priorities come first. And that's where, like we signed Danjuma in January. I was slightly frustrated because I was thinking, surely our priority should be a centre-back and right wing-back. We got Porro done, so it was all right in the end. In the summer, I would be happy with, let's say, if, signing Porro permanently, signing Kulusevski permanently, signing probably, I would say, a left-sided centre-back and a goalkeeper. Lots of people disagree and going, that's, only 2 players coming in. But also, I think signing Kulusevski and Porro permanently, it feels like 2 new signings as well. Well, not feel, but it is basically, because you're keeping them. And I think on top of that, as I said, we need a left-sided centre-back and a goalkeeper. I don't think we need a midfielder. I think that our midfielder is as good, better than Chelsea's, nearly as good as Arsenal. Obviously, we don't have someone like Odegaard. I think our midfield is underrated. We're not going to get into that discussion again, but I think Højbjerg, Bentancur, and they've got Sarr coming through, Skip as well. I think it's a good enough midfield for a top 4 club.
Yeah, it's interesting that you use the words for a top 4 club, isn't it? Because that's the kind of words that our board would use as well, whereas other people would suggest that we should be striving higher than that. So I found that interesting, Harry, that you used the
I know what the board are like, you see.
Johnny's coming again, talking a lot of Arsenal today, Johnny, but it's okay. We'll read you out. Arsenal fans are in crazy times. We're really unsettled now. When I was calm like you, I yearn to be unsettled. Now I've had kind of enough of it. My head feels like I want to explode. I yearn calmness. I yearn calmness again. Do you know what? That's interesting, actually, about, wanting calm, wanting to be unsettled, and then once you are unsettled, you want calm again. Suddenly we decided, you know what, we'll cash in on one of the big guys and go for a huge rebuild with the funds. Let's say that was an option. I know we wouldn't even spend the money after that. But it would be a strange time, wouldn't it? All this money being spent and then never knowing, who's coming in, whether they're good enough. We could end up like Chelsea,
Yeah, I don't want to be a club like that. I think it's important. Fans who don't like leaving ENIC, I don't, but I understand. I wouldn't want to be owned by someone like Chelsea, where you have no plan, no identity, no direction. So I wouldn't like that, and just always been on the edge of financial fair play. I'd like to be a fair club, and I'd be happy with leaving ENIC just if I knew there was a direction there, or just it's mainly like sacking managers unnecessarily. It annoys me. I could cope with everything else. It's just sacking Mourinho, like 5 days for a cup final, and sacking Poch instead of accepting, we weren't great that season. Things like that is what has made me turn against Levy and ENIC. But it's simple, like we had this discussion before, Luke. It's as simple as Levy coming out and speaking to the media instead of getting Paratici to do it, right? Who's in trouble as it is. Get Levy to do a media interview, speak to the fans, and get behind, the manager, or I can see there's some kind of direction there. Because I look at us at the moment, and we don't know if Kane's going to be here next season. Conte, we don't know where we'd be next season, and that's what concerns me most as a fan.
Yeah, I find that interesting actually, and I think I'm right with you because people that know me, I had a lot of stick on Twitter by people saying that I'm ENIC in, which I'm 100% not. Right, and I'm not going to waste everybody's time by going over my reasons why I feel that they have been beneficial to this football club. Do I think that they have stifled our ability to exceed more? Yes, but anyway, I just said I'm not going to go into it, so I'll put it like that. But you are right in terms of my annoyance towards them is growing and growing by the day.
Day by day, yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, due to their lack of transparency, which is pretty much what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
That it's a very good point about Paratici because, how many director of footballs do you see coming out and doing full-blown interviews?
Very few.
All we need, and Daniel Levy knows this, he's not a stupid man. He
knows
that's all he needs to do, but he won't do it. And that's what infuriates people. Doesn't have to be, in front of a press conference. It could be walking on a golf course and saying, I don't know, like you did, like Gary Neville does. Do you know what I mean? Right? Just a simple walk.
Or pre-recorded video in his house. It could be, it could be as simple as that. Just something that addresses us fans.
This is what I want. This is what I believe in. This is what I'm passionate about. As in Tottenham Hotspur. And I want to succeed for this football club. I understand that things have gone wrong because he must understand that. And this is my clear vision because they will have a clear vision. But why they don't tell the fans? And I reckon 50% of those ENIC outers will start to think, do you know what? I'll give them respect for that. There will always be these Twitter warriors that hide behind pictures of footballers and have no faces. Do you know what I mean? That will...
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Pretty much fake, in my opinion. But if that happened, there would be a lot of people that would say, do you know what?
I would.
I respect that. I'll hold my hands up. And, I don't know about you, Harry, but, there might even be a point where you get to a point where you say, do you know what? I believe in this. If you start to show me this, I will start to say, continue running my club. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I've actually been kind of ENIC/a fence sitter until New Year's Day, and I said to you, I sat and reflected. It only took 2 minutes, about how the times we set managers, and Levy doesn't speak to the board. I don't think managers have been backed. I think we spent money but haven't been backed in terms of listened to or got what they want. It's not always about money spent. It also comes under recruitment and listening to the manager instead of just going and getting a player for him. Like Mourinho didn't want Joe Rodon, did he? The club will say, we spent money on that, but he didn't want it. So yes, although I am leaving ENIC out, it only takes a media interview, as I said, and a structure. I'm not saying there isn't a plan there, but to address the fans and kind of explain, we hold our hands up. All he needs to do is, I'm sorry, we've got things wrong. We in terms of sacking managers, and we're gonna not gonna do that anymore. Just some kind of like reassurance that, because we don't know where we're gonna be next season. We really don't. We could be mid-table, or we could be in a better position. We just don't know. And it's not always about the money spent. People forget it's about recruitment. I can spend 500 million on something that but it's poor structure, for example, or something really, really terrible and overrated and overpriced. It's about that. It's about the recruitment. It's in terms of like the quality. Like, for example, Rodon, as I said, with Mourinho, he didn't want him. Spence, I don't believe Conte wanted him. I think it's a clever signing, but Conte didn't want him. So backing the manager for me means not only spending money, but listening to them and going to get the player we want, which I think he did to Porro. So I stand here and hold my hands up. He got the Porro deal done, not in the way that I wanted it. It took far too long, but he got the deal done. So, and I always will admire Levy and Ely on the business side of things. Levy should step back and let Paratici do the football side of things and just give him a bit more power.
Yeah, definitely. And, I was under the impression, I suppose, like most people were, that was what was, what was going to happen when Paratici came in. But, only time will tell. As I said, some people will be enough. Shout out to Harry in the comments with his Levy out comments. Look, we're not going to go on about this because honestly, Harry, I'm sick to my teeth about going in, out, flipping, shake it all about style. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Let's just concentrate on what's to come. But I do want to touch on two things that we did mention very briefly, and that's the response from the board to the Tottenham Hotspur Supporters Trust, and also the Paratici interview. I'm not sure how much you watched or read about that. But what are your thoughts overall on what was said? Because this is what, excuse my language for a Saturday morning, but this is what pisses everybody off, right?
Yeah.
Their lack of, lack of emotion towards the fans. It's always like politicians' statements when they've done something wrong. It's always very structured, very worded. And it does grind my gears that, as you say, they don't just come out and be completely honest. And it had to wait until the end of the transfer window. And I get reasons why. One part of it could be to do with the fact that they just have a lot to do, during the transfer window. I get that. But, what are your kind of overall thoughts after that? Because it didn't really help anyone.
No, it didn't. And like you said, Luke, little things like wait until the transfer window finishes, and what I found was quite an aggressive and rude response. That bugs me. And things like if they'd answer it like before the transfer window or during the transfer window, just little things like that is why I'm still leaving Inic out, believe it or not. It's the little things that annoy me, things like that, and the tone. And looking at that, and I was really, really, really annoyed because I actually think that they've got. Not going to say they've got the statistics wrong, but they've been very clever the way they've worded it. Like, for example, 500 million since the stadium opened. But I bet you that 500 million includes the women's team, add-ons that are never going to happen, and poor recruitment. Like 47 million in January. Did we spend 47 million on 2 loan signings? No. I bet that includes the women's team. And if we buy Porro, they're clever and partly admire them for it in a way, as a business side of it. But to us fans, again, I find that, rude, in fact, the way they're saying about how it's ridiculous, the way that we can say we haven't backed our managers, because they think that spending money is backing the manager. It's not. See, that's what I don't. I don't believe that we go to Conte and say, what player do you want? We'll get him. Perhaps we've done that with Porro, but that should have happened before. Like, Mourinho wanted a centre back, so Levy sat here and thought, oh, I know, Joe Rodon, he's young, cheap. That's a good. I generally think he means well, but he just doesn't think. And little things, Luke, bug me, and that's why I'm leaving Inic out. Just these little things like that, and answering, earlier and sacking. Just little things like that really get to me more than the bigger things.
No, and I agree with you, and I think that the tone in which it was written
wrong
was poor, and it was like they were annoyed at having to do it.
Yeah.
And so, as you say, stating £47 million spent in January.
It's not true.
If we're taking an obligation to buy, which is structured over 3 years,
which we don't know.
It is correct. It is a correct statement. It's just the way that they've worded it, which doesn't make any sense, right? to say, our outlays in the next 3 years currently are X amount of money, that would be true, right? If they said, because there are obligations, right? There are future payments that need to be made.
Yeah, but add-ons don't often happen.
Yeah, there are future payments but they could turn around and say, actually, we have 200 million already sitting here that has to go out that you don't realise. And again,
they don't tell us the net spend. The net spend's a lot lower.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the poor recruitment is the worst part for Spurs because they spent some time before and they signed some decent scouts. And then where did they go? They left and went elsewhere. And this is what happens. And what they need is a complete rejig of the scouting, the part in which negotiations are done. Like, I'm sick to death of seeing Daniel Levy is taking over the negotiations for this deal. I'm sick of doing that. You
shouldn't have to.
Financially, he can sign off on them. Great. But it has to be negotiated by somebody who knows about football, as opposed to, because the amount of owners now of football clubs, and that's why I believe that Sporting decided to play hardball in the end, because they're sick to death of dealing with us. When they were talking about
30 days it took.
Sporting.
I mean, I'd be annoyed if someone, if I had a customer or someone trying to get something off me and they took 30 days, I go, oh, sod it. Why would you spend 30 days over it? We got the deal done. Absolutely. Credit to Levy for that. Just not in when I thought, oh, wow, Levy got the deal done. He paid the money, but I should have known better. It was a loan deal, but he got the deal done. That's all that matters. But I'd like to touch on, if you don't mind, Luke, I had this conversation actually this morning. I thought to myself about Joe Lewis, how he was obviously in the Bahamas and how, again, he could help himself if he went to games more often, because I believe that he just sits there on the beach in his deck chair, his sunglasses. I can picture it, cocktail, and then he gets his phone and looks at the score and goes, oh, we won, oh, we lost. That's actually how I believe he looks at it. And if we had owners, Levy goes to every game. Credit to him for that. He goes to every game, but it's the way he stands up there and he looks down at the fans. Like when then if you saw, there was a video going around when they'd done the Levy out chance, he kind of gave it a little glare, like, how dare you? But
it reminds me of a Roman emperor.
Yeah, I generally think Levy thinks he's better, but the thing that frustrates me the most, and hurts me if you like, is that I believe Levy, not so he cares about the fans, but I think he does care a little bit, and I think he has the best intention, just doesn't know how to do that, and he should step away from the football side. I think the business side, I mean, look at us, we're fantastic. We've got Beyonce coming in, got fantastic, well-run business, but profit is one thing with a football club, but you've got to have success. I mean, getting top four is probably at the moment looking at the bare minimum, but you've got to start winning trophies because we are a little bit of a laughing stock, really, if you think about it.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. The only thing I think about Joe Lewis is I genuinely don't believe he's well enough to come and... I don't know this. This is what I believe. It's very common in these kind of situations when someone's health is poor, that they just tend to stay well away.
Yeah. But Levy has to go out to the Bahamas to, like, for example, to get more money to, like, that 150 million cash injection. I mean, they would say that's used, but I still don't believe it's all used. But anyway, it has to go all the way out to the Bahamas. So fair play to Levy, and I partly believe he's a bit of like a puppet head for Eni. Partly, I do think that, but where I do blame him, I blame Eni more than Levy. But where I do blame Levy is the decisions, like to sack managers and those little decisions that bug me. And like with the Amazon documentary, do you believe that he does it now and he's all around everything now? I don't believe that. It's just for the cameras. I think I had this conversation the other day, about how, like, the documentary seems to be everywhere and people are like, oh, perhaps he does care. But I thought about it, and it's just for the cameras. The little things that annoy me, and like decisions to sack managers that I believe, fans will disagree, and I probably get called out for this, but I believe that Mourinho was sacked only because of that. If you won a trophy, you get a bit more money, and that's what I believe. Yes, we weren't in a great place, but even if we won, sack him after, I wouldn't keep bringing it up. I mean, obviously you don't usually sack a manager after you win a trophy. You weren't in a great place, and perhaps you thought, a bit of a moral boost. But why did you think Ryan Mason's going to win a trophy? You've got Mourinho, who's won trophies, even been in a difficult situation. Win a trophy, then sack him. And then I think there won't be all this Levy and Iniesta protest. But it's little things like that. And like with Pochettino, this is a perfect example. Or Arsenal done, so stuck with him, backed him, and it's worked. So as I said to you, the only reason we're behind Arsenal is because they've got those little decisions right.
Exactly. This is interesting, right? And the only reason I re-brought this up was, think about it, right? Everyone says Levy out. Everyone says Enoch out. No one ever talks about Joe Lewis, do they? He seems to get, and that's why I believe that Levy is a fall guy in this whole thing.
Yeah, I feel sorry for Levy a little bit. I think it's more
because
more
they
the
never
board.
say Lewis out.
No.
He's the one that is financially backing the entire thing.
Yeah,
He's
Lewis,
the one
Enoch,
who
the
owns
board.
these companies that own us. So no one ever talks about him, and I feel like, as you say, I don't really feel sorry for Daniel Levy. He's got loads and loads of money. If he wasn't interested, he could stay away from the games and just keep collecting the money. I don't really feel
Which
sorry.
He should do that.
I think at times he gets off on people singing, regardless of whether
He doesn't help himself
positive or negative. But I find that interesting. I don't know if anybody's ever brought it up before about the fact that it's always Levy out and it's never, Lewis out. And that's I don't know. People can put their thoughts and ask about it. It might be. I might have said something completely stupid, but
I don't think so. No, I agree.
So let's move on to. Let's go for a little bit of transfer chat.
Okay.
So we loaned out Jed Spence, which, whatever your thoughts are on this, I assumed somebody was going to be going out because of that. And then I'm laughing at this, and we attempted to loan Matt Doherty out, only to realise
just sums the club up.
Only to realise that we can't loan any more players out, and so we'll just rip up his contract. And Atletico Madrid will sign him on a free transfer. Like, what has this guy got to do in his life to do so? He must have had an incredible life before this one, because to be never playing for Spurs,
probably got to win a trophy at Atletico as well.
Yeah, going to Atletico, along with is Reguilon still there now?
I think Reguilon's. I think so.
Anyway,
I don't know. Good question.
My knowledge, doesn't it? But and then he just gets, do you know what? You can sign for them on a free transfer. Yeah, happy days. Like, he must be absolutely over the moon. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Because it is mind blowing of somebody like the board who are so clever in terms of finances, just forgetting that we've loaned too many players out.
That's just a schoolboy error. It's stupid, isn't it? Surely you must know how many players you have on loan. That just sums us up, really.
The maximum is 8, by the way, so that it's not hard. Everyone can count to 8.
You can count on your fingers, can't you? There's no excuse for that. But listen, I've been a big critic of Matt Doherty, and the thing I get called out most in the whole world about Spurs is my stance on Matt Doherty, because I actually think that Emerson has more potential than Doherty. That's a really unpopular opinion. However, I think that's just pathetic, just to kind of by then, because we can't loan you out. So it's just sums us up, really, and it's frustrating. And surely they didn't look at that. And again, that's another little thing, Luke, that Levy and the board do. That is why fans like me are still Enoch and Levy out. Those little things, like not counting on their fingers how many players they've got out on loan, or not answering the question. It's little things that are costing them, and they're continuing to do it. And what annoys me most is they don't learn from their mistakes, and they never will. That's the fact. They don't admit and don't learn, and that is the problem.
And I don't think it's difficult to name.
It's not difficult.
I'm not gonna make it
so simple.
Yeah, so Reguilon is at Atletico Madrid. I thought that was going to be interesting. I thought one player on one side, one player on the other.
Probably go and win a trophy, just like Nuno did when he left Spurs and Mourinho left Spurs. It's something's cursed. Doesn't Levy? Sorry, Luke. Another thing. I don't think that Levy, Enoch, Joe Lewis, the board ever for 1 second sit there and think, perhaps we're the problem, or is it something we're doing? No, it'll be, the manager's wrong, or the fans, or the club. Or it'll be something. It won't be them, and that's the problem. Do you think Levy sits there at night and goes, Nuno's left and won a trophy, Mourinho's left and won a trophy, it must be me, or it must be the board? I don't think he does that. I think he thinks that the fans have got a wrong perspective of things. Kind of everything's going to be okay. And I don't. You got to admit mistakes. Even the biggest people you got in the world have got to sometimes admit we make mistakes. Levy's got to come out and say, just say, hasn't got to name them. Just say, I've made some mistakes in terms of sacking managers in the past, or I've made some mistakes not listening, or not listening to the fans. Things like that. And it's little things, Luke, and I continue to say it. It's so frustrating. It's just these little things that really pushed me towards the end. And I'm going tomorrow, and I've just found out that. And if I promise you, if we had answered that question in the transfer window, and he'd given a media interview, I won't be joining in the process tomorrow, but I will be, because of little things like that really, really bug me. And I have the best interest in my club, and I think that's without Levy, Enoch on the board.
Perfect. Right, let's move on to tomorrow's game against Man City. It's a really difficult one because every time we come up against Man City, especially at home, I really do give us a shot. And
absolutely,
this game is difficult for me. It's a little bit like the last game we played against Man City, where do I want us to take points off City and allow Arsenal to go further and further ahead at the Premier League? Does your mind go to that, or does it only go to Spurs need to win this game regardless of what happens elsewhere?
I'll be lying to say that I don't think about those things, because Arsenal, I'd rather us finish outside the top four if it means that Arsenal won't win the league. And that is the reality. Obviously, I've never probably this season felt optimistic about a Spurs game, but I actually do. I woke up this morning thinking, I think we're going to win this. And we get onto obviously the predictions later, but I'm actually feeling confident. But of course, it'd just be Spurs to win, wouldn't it? It'd be Spurs to win this and lose to Leicester, or get knocked out of the FA Cup. That is just so Spurs, and we're used to it by now. That it's the normal. But yeah, so obviously I want us to win, and I'm feeling optimistic. But part of me it doesn't. It obviously helps Arsenal, and that is so Spursy.
Yeah, definitely. I was talking about this on the LFC day trip as I was on last night, and I mentioned about that whole point of not necessarily wanting to win to benefit Arsenal. But I also think that we can't always think like that. Like,
of course you can't. We're playing for top four in the end of it, and we've got to do that. I think we're still in the top four run, so we've got to focus on that. Really, I mean, it's obviously not going to be great. Let's hope City win every other game after that.
Yeah, definitely.
Arsenal will crumble, whether it's a little bit or a big bit. They will lose. They will lose. I can see it in the team. They will lose. Arteta's not fantastic. The team isn't fantastic. Like, players like Xhaka, they can easily fall apart. That defense isn't good enough. They can fall apart just like that. So they only need to lose one game and it will start to fall apart. But sorry, Luca, just like to say again, I probably get called out for this, but I think Arsenal have had it easy, and that's the reality. I think that I've never seen City, Liverpool, Chelsea, or even us drop as many points. So that's the reality. Look at City last season. They've already lost more games or dropped more points they did the whole last season, and we've just over halfway through the season. So that just is everything. So
it's very much Leicester-esque, isn't it?
Yeah, wherever we go for the title, we always seem to have teams at their best and never lose a game. That just is what it is. And Arsenal fans can sit there and go, "Oh, the decisions don't go our way," but trust me, everything goes their way, and they just can't see it.
Love that. So. Right, let's talk a bit more about the City game. So I think it's too early for Pedro Porro to come in and start the game. I think it'll be Emerson Royale starting. We may see 30, 40 minutes of Porro towards the end.
Come on, imagine if he came on and scored. It'd be great.
If we get any goals outside of the front three, I'd be impressed.
Yeah. Just think Porro's something different. City know what to expect with Kane, Son, Kulusevski. They know what to expect, but they don't know what to expect with Porro. So that's just a thought.
Well, maybe they do, because he was there as a young kid, doesn't he? But
maybe.
Yeah.
Perhaps I can come back to Hortman.
It's going to be a tough one. It's really going to be, I hate to talk about Erling Haaland so much, but I was looking at his stats last night. 25 goals this season in 19 games. The rest of the City, 7 for... Stop this. You're talking 7 for Foden and 4 for Mahrez. So if you can stop a player like him scoring, you stand a chance. But then we thought that against City away. Mahrez scored. In the end, Haaland scored. It's going to be interesting on how we deal with it, isn't it? Because it reminds me of kind of against Liverpool this season, where they were in poor form. We allowed them to score twice, and then we decided to try and kick on and fight back.
Let's try and win.
Yeah, but then we played City and took it to them in the first half, went 2-0 up and still lost. So
one half team.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Do you believe Spurs can win this game tomorrow?
Yes, I do, and I don't fear Erling Haaland. I mean, People say, oh, he's fantastic. But look at the players. This is the argument that's having with Dave. This is in a slightly different situation. Look at the players that he has around him. That Casemiro, Man United has world-class players, right? Listen, hear me out. That Haaland has world-class players supplying him. He can stick himself, with sellotape to the back post and still score the same amount of goals. That's what he does, I think, anyway. He kind of just scores tap-ins.
You can't deny that Erling Haaland isn't fast, strong, got a good shot.
He's a little bit.
Headers. He's a
complete bit, he's not as good as Kane. He's not as good as Kane. He doesn't have an all-round. He's all-round game. Man. He can't pass the ball as good as Kane can. He can't. He doesn't drop deep. And you see, like against United, where he tries to drop deep, he's useless. So he's only any good when he's in the penalty box and good at tap-ins. But I can score tap-ins. Done. Boom. See, I think he's okay, but I think there's loads of better strikers than him, and Kane definitely comes first. I think if Kane and Haaland 1v1, Kane would turn Haaland inside out. Unless he's
you reckon that Kane at this point in the season scores more than 25 goals for City?
Yeah, but look at the team that Kane's got around him. I mean,
Kane replaced Haaland,
Kane would score double the amount Haaland would in that City team. I keep saying that. If Haaland was in this Spurs team, he wouldn't have scored 5 goals because we don't supply Kane. City supply Haaland, and that's the difference. Kane works for himself. Kane supplies for himself. Haaland can just stand there, do nothing. Like he can have 2 touches in the game, but the cross is always perfect. I mean, I'd love to try it. I'm sure it's great. You're getting paid a lot to do much apart from score. I mean, that's where City got their poacher, and that's why I'd never believed that they were going to get Harry Kane, because Kane has a better all-round game, and all they want is a tapping merchant, which is all Haaland is. And I'm leaving it there. That's me done.
Oh, this is outrageous. This is outrageous. But anyway. I respect you for standing up for Harry Kane, and I'm not denying Harry Kane is an unbelievable footballer, but you cannot look past the brute force and ability of.
He scores goals, yeah. He's there, right place. That's all I'm going to say. He knows how to tap it in the net. He knows how to find an empty net. It's good talent.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's move on from that. This is fucking wild. Oh, sorry. So let's talk about what your thoughts are going to be in terms of score predictions tomorrow. So, what do you think the score is going to be?
I'm feeling positive. I'm going 2-1 Spurs. Seriously. Yeah, it's strange how I feel. I feel confident about this, but you wait. We'll play something like Leicester, or we'll play the FA Cup game, and I'll be going, I think we're going to lose. That's just me. I'm up for this, and I'm going. And I think we can keep that unbeaten record under Stellini. And I just feel confident. I think Haaland will be very, very quiet, because if you keep Haaland out of the game, and all you need to do is make sure he doesn't get the ball, keep an eye on him at the back post. Because I said he's not like Harry Kane. He doesn't drop deep and doesn't create things. So I wouldn't say perhaps we can keep an eye on him. But no, I think we'll be all right. I actually do. I think we take the game to City. I don't think City is good this season either, so we can take it to them. If we're at our best, then I think we can beat them.
Out of the back 3 that we have,
would
you choose one of them to man mark Haaland? Or would you rather play as in a positional play, in terms of making sure that whoever is in that space at the time, are they good enough to do that? Or would you say, do you know what, I will put such and such as a man marker? Because when you were talking, part of me was thinking, do you know what, I would prefer take Romero out of the game, put him to man mark Haaland. But I believe that as good as Romero is, there are times in which he does make mistakes, and it would concern me his aggressiveness to man mark someone like him.
Yeah, I don't believe in man marking, to be honest with you. But I think that you've seen with Spurs how like even against Preston how like Sanchez and Tanganga, they lost the Preston centre forward sometimes. So I think obviously we've got to be careful, but we mustn't fear Haaland outside the box. You've got players like Grealish, Foden, Mahrez, De Bruyne, who outside the box, by the way, we should fear. So if we get City, what's important for me, Luke, is that we mustn't give them the time to pick the pass or to pick the cross or to have the shot, because there's times against Preston where we gave them too much space and luckily they haven't got the quality. If you give the likes of De Bruyne, Foden, Mahrez, or even Haaland inside the box a little bit of space, they will punish you. And that is the problem. I always believe that when teams when we're playing against opposition and they're attacking, we give them too much space. So we must instantly close down Højbjerg, Bentancur. They need to be at it, and I hope they are. It needs to be. We need to press high. That's what's important. We can't just sit back.
We need to do the opposite in which Conte wants us to do.
Exactly. I mean, and sometimes I was having this conversation the other day, and sometimes you've got to ignore what the manager says and do what you need to do to make sure the team wins. And that is do what you think, which I think is pressing high.
Yeah,
I do think it is. Forcing the mistake like we did at the Etihad. But if you're going to stand there behind the ball and let De Bruyne shoot, I mean, it's like in training. There's no defender there. You can put it in the back of the net. So what you've got to really do is like kind of hold him off or press him. So we mustn't all back away, which we do a lot, and then they go and score. So I don't fear Haaland. I actually don't unless he's in the box. But players I do fear. There's a lot of them for City outside the box that we mustn't give them the space. And you wait, we will, and you get punished. Simple as that.
Yeah, Johnny said, let's do predictions. I'm feeling dangerous. 3-3, like Newcastle City. Do you know what? I agree to an extent. I genuinely believe the score is going to be 2-2. I think it's going to be a draw.
Two ropey defences.
Huh?
Two ropey defences and two good attacks. So that is a possibility.
Now is the time to beat City in terms of they are,
go for them.
They are struggling, saying that as a team that are second in the league this season. And there seems to be a little bit of unrest in terms of, Pep and everything else. With some
the ball, Cancelo's, very odd.
So now is a time to really, really punish them. It will really tell what happens in the Arsenal game, which is kicking off in half an hour. For we know what to expect. Apologies to everyone that is watching, because if anyone ever plays last person standing, which is what I'm playing at the moment with some of my friends, I have Arsenal I've picked this week to win, and they have to win, otherwise I'm out. So it's ruining my weekend in the fact that I need Arsenal to win, but I also don't want them to win. So anyway, let's talk lastly about Antonio Conte really quickly. Obviously, came out this week that Antonio Conte had to go to surgery for the removal of his gallbladder. He will miss the game, I would assume, this weekend. Not sure exactly how long he will be out for. He's had a hard year. As much as I've given him a lot of stick in this season, and I will continue to give him stick when it is deserved, same as I do with the board, same as I do with everybody. It is, sad, and he has had one hell of a year. Losing very close friends, his family still being in Italy.
Difficult.
The difficulties on and off the pitch, and now this. Obviously, he needs to take as much time as he needs to be able to recover and recuperate and come back. What are your thoughts on Stellini managing us? Because you see a lot of him in press conferences for the FA Cup, don't you? But apart from that, you don't see a lot else from him.
Yeah, firstly, just like you say, with Conte, obviously he's had a tough year, and I do feel sorry for him, losing friends, family back home at Italy. Now having this with his gallbladder, it's been hard for him, and he's struggling, I think, outside of football in life right now, and we've got to support that, which I don't know if the board will, but hopefully, we give him the time he needs. They don't pressure him, because Stellini has done a fantastic job so far with the media interviews. I think he actually handles it better than Conte. He's honest, says things how they are, which we don't have enough of at the club. I love it when Eric Dyer comes out and says things how they are. Stellini reminds me about a bit. He does that. And we're unbeaten under Stellini, so you mustn't remember that. So hopefully we can continue that going. Little statistic there. For now, we're unbeaten.
Well, that's brilliant. Right, I think you said that well enough. So look,
there you go.
Let's wrap it up for a day, and hope that we are talking this time next week about a Spurs victory.
I believe so.
And good luck at the game tomorrow. And
Thank you.
I encourage anybody that's going to this protest to do so in the correct manner.
I won't do the walkout protest. I won't be stupid.
Do things that are appropriate and use language that are appropriate. There will be people, there will be children, there will be women, there will be everybody there. Yeah. And so, it's about doing things strongly and correctly. Absolutely, and not making an ass of yourself. And that's, I respect everybody that goes out there, protests, and does what they need to do. But, things must be done in the correct manner. So big up to everybody that's going to do that the weekend. And we'll see you all next week. Harry, I think there's a bit of news from you, isn't there, this week? Do you want to tell everyone what the news is, my friend?
Thank you, Luke. I couldn't do it without you, by the way. I'm starting my own show. So every Monday night, 8 p.m. Basically start my own show via YouTube. And I'm your host. for Scarfy Spurs Talk going live on YouTube. Basically, be like discussing, for example, Monday show's now scheduled for Monday. Thanks to Luke, he helped me with everything because I didn't have a clue what I was doing, by the way. But I got everything sorted, the intro and everything sorted. It's scheduled for Monday, and we will occasionally also have guests on. So let me know, anyone that wants to get involved, more than welcome. Encourage that. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this, and hopefully we've got it right. Might need a bit of patience with, but yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to it. So yeah, thank you for your help, Luke, and yeah, absolutely buzzing really for it. And we'll discuss the reaction to the City game, ENIC's response, FA Cup tie. So yeah, I'm absolutely buzzing. So yeah, please tune in at 8 p.m. Monday. Thank you to Luke though.
No problem at all. Make sure you are obviously subscribing onto our channel first, but also make sure you go over to Scarfy Spurs Talk and subscribe to Harry's channel. Harry is I'll be honest to you, Harry, you're a young, talented person in terms of what you talk about, and it's an absolute privilege to have you on our channel. And just hope that everybody gives you the same the same backing that people have given our channel as well. We are only a small channel, but we appreciate every person that gets involved. And so make sure you go over to Harry's channel as well and check that out on Monday night. I think it's 8 p.m.
Always a pleasure to be here.
No problem at all. Yeah, make sure you are subscribing. Make sure you're liking the video. And make sure you check in a comment if you're watching it in the future. If you are listening on any podcast platform, don't forget to follow and leave us a 5-star review. But I just want to thank everybody for joining in this morning. And we'll see you next week with hopefully some more positive news. And we'll just end on this. A big,
Perfect.
Come on, you Spurs.